Hi, I'm Randy Jeffers. You know, there's a lot of sayings about being in the right place at the right time, or when one door closes, another one opens. I heard a great story of this lady who she'd been taking care of her mother, and she was her best friend, and her mother had finally lost a long battle with cancer, and so this gal was sitting on this hard pew at her mother's funeral, and she couldn't even feel how hard that was, because it was just so intense for her, the hurt that she had gone through, because it was just so hard. I mean, she couldn't even breathe, and her mother had always been very supportive, and she's the one that always clapped the loudest at the school plays, and cried when she was listening to her first heartbreak, and always comforted her at times of trouble and so forth, and so when her mother's illness was first diagnosed, her sister had a new baby, and her brother had recently got married, and so she was the one. She was in her mid-20s, and she was the middle child, and so she didn't have any entanglements. So she is the one that took care of the mother, but she just counted it as such an honor, and it was just such a wonderful, fulfilling experience to spend those last times with her mother. And so at the funeral there, her sister sat slumped against her husband's shoulder, and had the little baby in their arms, and everybody was grieving, but no one noticed that this woman who had taken care of the mother, she was sitting there alone, and her place had always been with her mother. She didn't have anybody else, because she's the one that prepared the meals, and took her mom to the doctor, and took care of the medication, and all the things that one would do when you're taking care. And now the mother was gone, and her work was finished, and she was alone. And then a door opened in the back, and somebody came scurrying in and sat down right next to this gal. And this was a young man that he kind of looked around briefly and sat down real quickly, and he folded his hands, placed them on his lap, and he was crying, and began to sniffle a little bit, and he whispered over to her. He says, "I'm late," and said, "I'm really sorry, I'm late." But as he listened to the funeral, he asked her, he says, "Why do they keep calling Mary by the name of Margaret?" And so the gal says, "Well, because her name was Margaret. It was never Mary, it was Margaret. No one called her Mary." And so this gal was wondering, why did this person, why didn't he go sit on the other side of the church if he didn't know her very well? And who was this guy anyway? But he said, "No, that's not correct." He said, "Her name is Mary Peters." And the gal goes, "That's not who this is." And he goes, "Isn't this the Lutheran church?" He goes, "No, that's across the street." He goes, "Oh." And she goes, "Well, I believe you're at the wrong funeral." And it was such a solemn occasion, that with the funeral and so forth. But it was a little bit, she couldn't hardly keep herself from laughing. But she kept herself from doing that. And the guy felt like he couldn't get up then, because he was kind of stuck there. But after they said the final amen, he got up, and both of them ran out into the parking lot, and he goes, "I think we're going to be the talk of the town." And he told her his name, and since he had missed his aunt's funeral, he asked her out for a cup of coffee, and that began something that was really special, because it was not very long after that they were married. And this guy was a assistant pastor at a local little country church, and they started this lifetime together, and they happened to go to the same church at the right on time for their wedding, so everything worked out fine there. But it was really interesting, and what they tell people now is, when they say, "How did you meet?" they go, "Well, her mother and my Aunt Mary introduced us, and it truly is a match made in heaven." What a great story. Here's to your absolutely incredible success.